All right, Podofgeauxld, welcome back. I'm Brett.
What
I'm
is
here with
this? What is this?
Grant, the intern behind the glass. Apparently, Mike gets full screen priority, even though I've opened every show. Podofgeauxld, episode 267. It's college football preview episode. Very exciting episode. Obviously, if you're following along with the show, you checked us out last week for the LSU season preview. It went 2 hours, maybe 2 hours plus, and I feel like there were things that we still missed. So I'm sure that as time goes on, as we get closer to the season, obviously there'll be a ton more LSU stuff to talk about. Hit us up on Twitter at Podofgeauxld, at Gold Mike, at Grant the Intern. I don't care. You can find Grant if you really want to. I don't know why you would.
Sheldon stays.
Sheldon stays. The hashtag worked, Mike. For once, the ride for five, the 5 for 5, just getting really behind a viral hashtag trend worked out in our favor. Doesn't happen often.
Sheldon Sampson, 5-star wide receiver from Catholic High.
I want to talk Sampson.
Yeah, Sampson, dude. A guy that you have to get. One of those in-state recruits right there, right behind Arch Manning and Derek Williams in the rankings, like neck and neck right there for the second best overall player in the state. A playmaker, a dominant threat, somebody that you look at, and Shay's talked about a lot. By the way, did we get Shay on for tonight? I know we were talking about
You didn't seem like you wanted me to DM him. Do you want me to DM him right now?
Yeah, let's see if we can get him in here on the fly. A guy that I believe Shay talked about, like not the next, but he's in that group of Jamars and Ruben Randalls and Justin Jefferson and like the guys that you have to get from the state of Louisiana at the wide receiver position. That if they go anywhere else, they become big time playmakers, and you don't want to see that happen. This is a guy we got to keep home, and he looks like a nice kid, dude. Quiet. Definitely somebody that did not really strive for a ton of attention. I don't really like how his video was kind of butchered. Very interesting.
No, I knew exactly what was going on the entire time. I didn't realize it was I thought, definitely didn't think it was leading up into anything else. So I was locked in and knew exactly what was going on the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what was going on there, but they're getting another chance here because Ricky Collins is coming up with a commitment on Wednesday on the Colada show. So that should be interesting. I wonder where he will go.
Guys, can we stop? Can we stop the fucking shock and awe? Like, what is happening? I get we want to give this dude his day, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But can we not act so fucking surprised? Can we at least be like, hey guys, I mean, maybe I guess you could make the point that Jordy is such a Billy Napier guy that Florida could potentially be the school, but where else are you going? Where else are you going?
Yeah, I mean, that would really be the toughest roll of the dice for the Jordy Claudia show, is if he's got these recruits on there and they're just like, go Aggies, and they're heading out of here. That would be rough. But no, Ricky Collins is going to LSU. Sheldon Sampson was always coming to LSU. Very awesome to see that happen. It would be kind of cool. What if they can switch it up a little bit and you'd have a celebration ceremony where it's not just where are you going? You commit to a school, but then you have this live, awesome show or party where it's a celebration. Hey, did you go to the Shelton Bash? Or the Ricky Collins celebration or whatever, and it becomes an exclusive invitation to the announcement party, even though you've already announced where this kid's going, but it's a huge celebration. Kind of might take away from the whole bullshit. I'm gonna dig out 75 hats and then pull out a bulldog and I'm going to LSU.
Well, that wouldn't make sense. We wouldn't want that to happen. Look, to just kind of circle back to the whole thing, and we can jump into talking more about college football as a whole and not just LSU. But it's a tradition as old as time. LSU takes the 5-star Louisiana wide receiver, and hopefully he turns into one of those Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall type guys who come in, play for a few years, ball out, and go to the NFL.
He's very much a Terrace Marshall type of player. He's long. He's got that edge taken care of down the sideline. Can definitely get up and get the football. And he comes from a really good program, playing against a lot of good competition. So really cool to see Sampson come on board. Trending in the right direction. Recruiting right now is definitely feeling positive. And it looks like we have, the month of August leading into the game against Florida State. I really feel like we're going to close really strong in this offseason for this 23 recruiting class. I mean, this is a class that is nearly full going into the regular football season. Really awesome to see, and it's littered with Louisiana players. Not all of them. You know, you don't have the cream of the crops all the way through, but you're starting to see nearly every other, be somebody that pops for LSU, and they're taking guys of need. I love it.
If you want to pick on LSU, if you want to make fun of LSU, that's fine, but get it in early, fellas. Get it in early because we're not gonna have much to make fun of here once this train's rolling in a couple years.
Yeah, no, Grant was at a wedding this past week, and I'm sure he'll pipe in a second and tell us. But like he's like, hey, there's a South Carolina Gamecock. He thinks we go down against Tennessee. It's like, what kind of just obscure prediction is that? Like that, just don't listen to this cock.
This guy was kind of a douchebag, major douchebag.
Whoa, our aunt is listening, Grant. Are you kidding me?
Tell us about him. Tell us about him. Like what's going on?
He works for NASCAR. He works for Team Toyota,
and so he's got opinions on Brian Kelly.
Big cock fan. Yeah, had opinions on Brian Kelly. He's like, first thing out of his mouth was, "How you like that accent?" I'm like, this is literally what everybody thinks. It doesn't matter what school it is. This is how they view us right now, and this is how they view.
Like
Brian
I said,
Kelly.
dude, the first thing out of his mouth was a Brian accent question. That means he knows nothing other than what's on the ticker for the ESPN channel. That's it. He doesn't know anything that's going on down here.
It feels like a century ago we played South Carolina. When was the last time? Was it the Fournette Hurricane game?
I feel like Geis was barreling down the middle and losing his helmet.
I thought it was Jadavon Clowney.
Jadavian.
Yeah.
No, it was after that.
Chason.
After that. It was at South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I'd also talked to an Oregon fan, the same Oregon fan I talked to a couple times a year. And
is he big on Bo Nix? Is he bullish on Nix?
Dude, so I completely forgot Bo. I completely forgot Bo Nix.
Don't forget that. Don't forget that.
I forgot. And then it's me and 3 other guys talking shop at the wedding. And he's like, yeah, we got Bo Nix. And I just started busting out laughing. He's like, what? I was like, dude, I completely forgot. I was like, how do you feel about that? He's like, I mean,
if he
can make plays.
He was an all freshman.
Yeah.
He was
freshman. Better than Tua.
Better than Derek Stingley.
100%. I mean, look, him going to Oregon catapulted them up to my top 18. So, I mean, I definitely think.
Oregon, I understand Cristobal in a different spot. Oregon's a team that's going to be a little dangerous out in the Pac-12. Are they going to be playing for a college football championship? No. But they're dangerous.
One team, one pod, jumping in here, coming all the way back from the Mike Denbrock presser to let us know that BK has a big cock. Love it. He does have a huge dick.
I mean, it's really like, do we want to bring this up? No, but it's just a fact. There's no arguing. We've all seen it. We've seen the silhouette.
He's got a knee knocker coming down the jet. I mean, it happens, dude.
Jet picture. Welcome.
I tried to explain to these guys this weekend, and they were just like, I just don't see it. You know, I think he's a good coach. Yeah, his penis.
I tried to explain it the whole time at this wedding, like the girth of Kelly.
People feel like, and we're teetering into just continuing the LSU season preview, guys. So we gotta really tighten it up here. But I feel like everyone just wants to look at LSU as like the school being the character, and you have to have a character coach there. And I'm like, all these, they say every time, it's like, well, you got to win. You got to win. It's like, yeah, you do have to win, but it's like our expectations aren't unrealistic. We just want to be fucking relevant. We see every 5 years an LSU team pop up that absolutely barrels everyone, and we're like, yes, I would like that once every 5 or 10 years, but I'd also like to be relevant for the other 4 to 8.
Yeah, you want a character at LSU? Fine. Our character is the winningest coach right now that's performing, in his duties. So I'll take that.
If Nick Saban retired and they had a bombshell deal that Brian Kelly came to Alabama from Notre Dame, everyone would be like, class, absolute class. Like, you get a coach, you get an absolute ball coach to step in. The ultimate ball coach is his straw hat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, but since he's at LSU, they're like, let's see what we can make fun of him for. I'm not saying he shouldn't be made fun of a little bit. Grinding on players and all that shit, you deserve to get your ribbings on the internet. I understand you're doing it for your recruiting and everything, but like you get what's coming to you when you post something like that online.
I love Brian Kelly right now because he has a
So hot
genuine
right
sense of humor that like everything that he drops, like it lands on me. Like like his jokes are landing on me when it seems like a lot of people aren't getting hit with them. I'm just like he's being sarcastic and schneid. Like he's funny.
Hugh G.
Dude, and there was I think a couple places kind of took it the wrong way and wanted to run with like an anti Brian Kelly thing where he was like, I said hello, I said good morning, whatever it was.
And they turn, yeah.
Guys, can we not
Did y'all happen to listen to Malik Neighbors' interview on Moscona last week?
I missed it. Moscona was texting me
it was
yesterday. So
I listened because I was like, wow, Malik Neighbors speaking on Moscona. And he literally, one of the main things he said was how
that's all it took.
Yeah. One of the main things was he was like, dude, Brian Kelly is so funny. Like he cracks jokes to the players all day long. He's like, he's like, I don't know if he's serious or not most of the time. He's like, and then he's like, Neighbor, like, why are you so serious? And then he's like, oh, he was joking. You know, like it.
Yeah, people don't really, they don't get it yet. They're like, oh, he's just an asshole. He's this northerner that's just a prick. And he comes down here and he's just like cracking jokes and like, hey guys, we're going to win, but we're also going to like have fun. And like, I'm a real dude, you know, like there's a reason why I've been at these places forever and they didn't just fucking fire me. Cause like people like me, you know, and we win. So, you know, have fun with this. Let's like, this is the time to have fun because guess what? In like 4 weeks, like we're not going to be, you know, slapping ass and cutting jokes. Like it's about to get real. Speaking of about to get real, Mike Denbrock.
Oh, I thought you were going to say slapping ass.
No, Mike Denbrock had his press conference today. The first time we really got to hear him talk a lot during camp. I swear to God, he said dicking around with
it. It was close. I don't think he did. But
what was he saying?
I mean, you could definitely tell he wanted to say dicking around, but upon further review, we can't
kicking around.
After reviewing the tapes, we figured out that I don't know. I reviewed the tapes.
Kicking around.
It was now. I mean, we can have to.
No, we don't have to pull it up. He didn't say dicking around, but like immediately when I heard it, I was like, many people are going to think dicking.
Oh, I mean, my dad, that was my father in practice. Like, you're dicking around with your footwork over there. What are you doing, boy? You know, it's like that definitely, it was in Denbrock's head. He just did. I don't think he actually said it.
Oh, that was the junior high, like, go-to word. I remember, like, all the coaches would always tell us, quit dicking around. And then it didn't take me too long to figure out, like, it was probably because we were, like, playing with our dicks. Like, we were at that age where we're just, like, fucking dicking around.
This podcast. Remember how I said I don't like how we can't redo the intro? Sometimes you got to worry about how many times you talk about dicks in the first 15 minutes.
That's debatable.
All right. Speaking
of coaches,
Denbrock says he likes mobility. That's all.
He likes mobility within an offense. I don't think he was meaning like over the top. Like I like wheels. But I like to be able to be multiple, I think is what he, you know, what he's trying to hone in there. A lot of the national people, a lot of people are starting to like shy away from the Nussmeier bus this week for some reason. And they're starting to push the Brennan and Jaden Daniels battle. It's interesting how like nothing has happened, but like now the story's changing.
I don't know. Maybe Grant can weigh in on this, but I downloaded the rosters on NCAA 14 and a glaring omission on the QB depth chart, at least when I fired up the Florida State game, was Nuss.
No.
So maybe he just wasn't in the 3 that make the depth chart.
Who do they have?
Walker Howard was in there. That's telling you, I didn't look into it because I just wanted to make sure it worked and got it going. And then
I bet you it's because he changed his number.
How dare they?
I'll have to do some research.
But no, I mean, be on the lookout. It's possible that if your boy decides to get a little gusto in his pants, we might make a YouTube video on who should LSU start at quarterback, just solely based on me playing against Florida State.
Get the gusto, dude. Go get the gusto. Do it.
You know, all in real, it's been a little bit of a hectic couple weeks over here.
Yeah.
I haven't had as much free time, but that's the plan. That's the plan.
So in all seriousness, Denbrock really did speak very highly about the offensive line and what he really wants to see out of that group moving forward. He said there's a lot of guys that are in competition right now that haven't really shown what they could in the spring because they weren't there. He talked about Dellinger. He talked about Emory Jones coming as a true freshman. They are very high on Anthony Bradford. Every single time you hear Brian Kelly or Mike Denbrock or anybody talk about the O-line,
Speaking of
they
foot mobility,
immediately talk about Bradford.
yes, they like it. They like his foot mobility, kind of
Mm-hmm.
the topic of the day. But yeah, you're right. Every time it gets brought up, that name is definitely one that's been said. Apparently, Dellinger getting some center
Yeah.
snaps. It's I look,
The
I think
best
I've
five.
been
The best
yeah,
five. That's all that matters.
I've been as negative as of LSU's offensive line in the last decade as just about anybody, but it's like I look at LSU's roster at the offensive line, and it's hard for me to think that they're not gonna be able to find 5. And I understand injuries happen and you gotta do like, things change over the course of the season, but it's like we have to have 5 that can go out there and compete with some of the best of the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt. And the two that are kind of the staple on every single report that's come out from the past few practices has been Tremont Shorts and Will Campbell. Like those two on that left side have kind of been like in the main rotation with the ones.
Yeah.
Everybody else, maybe Miles Frazier has always kind of been there, but those, I guess, 2.5, like Miles Frazier gets tossed in, those have been the staples. Everybody else is rotating. Like they don't have a center yet.
Will
Um,
Campbell's gonna have to be not wearing pads for him not to be playing starting at left tackle every game he's at LSU.
Yeah, he's left tackle. Everybody else is shuffleboard. It's a musical
Yeah,
chairs. Who's going to be my best 5? And honestly, like with the way they're approaching it, it might be who's the best 5 this week, who's the
right.
best 5 next week. Like it's going to be competition every single day. That's exciting to see the importance the offensive coordinator is putting on the offensive line. That everything runs with those guys first. If those guys are not in sync and cohesive together and are the badass road graders of this team, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter. You can't build an offense unless those guys are solid. And so I know he's pleased with what he sees, but he wants a solid starting 5 and he wants to get that rolling soon. I know next Thursday, I think, is their first kind of like quote unquote scrimmage. I
Yeah.
would not put any stock into like starters or anybody really having a leg up on anybody until probably after that. I think after next Thursday, though, you're going to start to see the pressure getting flipped on the coaches to start penciling guys in. I think that's whenever that shit's going to start.
You run into like that weird situation of like you don't want to wait too long and keep spreading out reps because then if you do and you look a little hectic against Florida State, you look like an idiot. It's like, well, obviously you didn't let the quarterback, become an alpha, take all the snaps, blah blah, whatever narrative you want to throw on it. If it doesn't look right, it's like it feels like at some point coming up soon, you're gonna have to just name a guy. I know I said I thought it was going to come a week before the Florida State. It just feels like it's got to come a little bit earlier. I mean, we're creeping up. What are we, 25, 27 days ish?
Yeah, I think it's 27. But Denbrock said when they asked him, like, when would you like to name a starter? He's like, today. Like I'd like to get it done as soon as possible. But it was kind of interesting how he kind of deferred that to like Coach Kelly and Coach Sloan are going to make that decision. They're going to make what's best for the team. So interesting dynamic with Mike Denbrock and Sloan and Kelly. It's not your traditional like, hey, this is the OC. He's in charge of the offense. Everything goes through him. You worry about your defense, coach. Like that's not really what's going on here. It's kind of like our head coach is heavily involved in the offensive game plan, heavily involved in the quarterback development. And I love that because of the track record that Brian Kelly has with organization.
That leans me towards Nuss a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Who knows? I mean, we could go unless like next Thursday, honestly, is the next time I'm going to start making quarterback predictions because they're rotating right now, just like last week. Oh, Nuss is starting with the ones. Well, guess what? This week it's Jaden Daniels. And then next week we'll probably see Miles Brennan. Like, who knows? I think after next week is when we're going to start seeing that shuffle out.
I really hope we get made look like jackasses and Brennan's just a stud, just slinging it around.
Yeah, who knows? That'd be awesome, dude. I think it'd be a great story for everybody. I wouldn't want it for any other kid on that team. He deserves that when it comes to how long he stuck it out. It would just be such a great story. Do I believe that's going to happen? No. But would it be awesome? Absolutely. Are we going to talk about Cale Gundy before we go into college football? Like, who put that in the pod talk?
I definitely didn't put that in.
Did you do that? I feel like that's a Grant thing.
No, I definitely did that. I was hot on Twitter at like midnight last night when shit started breaking. It actually gets a little interesting. Like, it's one of those. I mean, dude, it's like peak 2022. Let's not forget that this man's brother almost got canceled for wearing a OAN t-shirt. But it was just really funny to like. I was literally about to go to bed. I watched an old LSU game on YouTube just to get I watched the beginning of the first half of the LSU OU Peach Bowl or whatever, Chick-fil-A Atlanta Bowl, whatever it was.
Great competition, yeah.
Yeah, it was just so fun to watch again. And of course, then I'm all excited. So I go to Twitter to see if anything's popping off. It's like, oh, Cale Gundy is like, yeah, I said an inappropriate word by grabbing a guy's iPad. So I'm going to step down. And so then came the flood of like people coming to Cale Gundy's like defense, like, well, maybe he should just like, this is a learning experience. I'm a black coach here. I'm a white coach here. You know, it was peak Twitter of like, well, here's my expertise in the situation. And then it comes out today that Venables is like, yeah, like that's mostly true, but he said it multiple times. Like it wasn't oops, I was reading from this piece of paper and I just, I Ron Burgundy the fucking teleprompter. Like there was repeated once or twice. And
well, so did you see his smoke show daughter come out on Twitter, by the way? It was just like
my dad's not racist tweet
going off on Venables kind of like, we all know what really happened. The truth will come out soon. Just like how you told all the players to keep their heads down and their mouths shut. The truth will come out. It's like, oh, we got a little feistiness down in Norman.
Are we changing the direction of the podcast to be just a total like Sooner insider? Like we need to get to
No. This is part of college football preview. I mean, this is fireworks happening in fall camp.
I meant like this could be the most exciting story ever of Venables coming in as just like a Nazi dictatorship trying to like give everyone the Dabo blood juice to like, succumb to the power of the paw.
Yeah. Did he like set this cat up so he could look like he's like the most anti-racist person possible? And like, is that the daughter? That's Kat? Grant's gone.
I have no comment.
Grant's gone. He just pulled up that screen and ghosted us. So apparently that's what we got the rest of the pod. That's it.
I'm still here.
Cale Gundy.
I hope we have to do the pod like this the rest of the time.
If you're gonna go out on a limb, man, and make that kind of mistake, you got to look better than that. Like he looks like a fruitcake that's just easy to be crucified.
I mean, like I'm like 99% sure this is like Gundy's brother, right? Like that's a fact.
This is Mike Gundy's brother. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have a mullet.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, he looks like he could rock a mullet. I don't know. I mean, dude, Joe Mixon like put out on Stationery like a formal apology to Cale Gundy. Like it's just weird.
Can we just talk this through though? Okay, so a cat is in the film
not paying
room,
attention,
just writing rap lyrics. Right, that's what I heard. It was like writing lyrics.
Yeah, I think he just wasn't paying attention. Like, he was on his iPad, but not like film related studies. Cale Gundy like takes it to try to make an example.
So obviously he's angry.
Yes, and he, it's like a teacher. It's like I'm going to read the note. It's like, yeah, but these kids aren't 6 years old.
Yeah, and so he just reads it out loud.
Allegedly reads the thing,
and allegedly, according to Venables, reads it multiple times to like reiterate the inappropriateness. But in return, it was inappropriate and ended his career.
But like, he made it seem like he did it. He was like, some people are asking me to stay, guys, but I'm going to leave. I might have a position in Stillwater.
He did say, he was like, I did nothing wrong. Like I did nothing wrong. But I understand the climate these days. I'm out.
I literally was reading the telephone and letters form together to make sounds, and those sounds sometimes get people a little upset. Okay, that's pretty much what happened.
You just can't do it, man. You can't make that kind of mistake. I mean, that's not something. You got to look better than that, Mike.
You got to look better than that.
Oh, you got to look. Okay, I thought you're talking to me, my friend. Dude, I got the Italian charm out tonight.
Yeah, you got the necklace just popping.
You have to. You got to let it rock. I had to
Dude,
bring
you
out my
have
Italian flair. Dude, when I come up to North Carolina and they're like, "Oh, what's your heritage?" I gotta support it. I gotta support it. But no, Cale Gundy, wild story. Apparently,
to.
everyone loved this guy. That's what's
Yeah.
crazy.
He's like the staple. He's like your Frank Wilson of Oklahoma. Like we're just like
Well,
everybody loves Frank. It's like, but I'm just saying he's that like lovable like position coach that everybody like has good stories about, like kills at recruiting, blah blah blah. Father
He
figure
would.
to a lot of
He has all kind of records at Oklahoma.
yeah, 1990 to 1993, he had like the passing record at Oklahoma. He was a sick quarterback.
yeah, and then Josh White came in and just stole them all away in 9 years of play.
Yeah, but then Saban shoved it.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I know everybody, like, obviously, you don't say that,
Yeah, I mean,
and
like, it's something that, like, it's one of those things that you probably just don't get the locker room back. Like, whether me sitting at home thinks that, like, this dude should be, like, fired or, like, banned from college football or anything like that doesn't really matter. It's more of, like, are you gonna be able to, like, go in? It's like, man, we just started fall camp. It's not like this is, like, middle of the season and we can just call a
yeah,
heat of battle. Like, we just got going, and you're gonna ask these dudes to throw up on the sidelines because they're going, they're working so hard for you and everything. It's like that's what kind of gets me. It's almost like, should I be fired for this? Probably not. Should I probably learn a lesson? Yes. I'm just gonna back away and go fishing because I've made $38 million.
yeah, no, but I think the whole
Terrible.
excuse of him saying like, I don't want to make a distraction of things, so I'm leaving. It's like, well, this is the distraction. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, I kind of
100%.
feel like if there was a coach and players meeting and there was like an apology and like an open discussion about the situation, if that is true and factual, like he just picked up the iPad and read what this kid
Right.
said, like I feel like most people would forgive him. I feel
I
like
agree.
most people would be like, "Hey man, like don't do that again." Like obviously that's a very wrong thing to do, but it clearly did not come from like a malicious background, or you weren't like labeling anybody that
Yeah.
certain word. You know what I'm saying? Like
Can
there was
it
no
get
intent.
different? But
But
then it
then all
gets
of a sudden it's
different
like,
when
then
he
why are
said
you
it like
leaving?
9 times.
Right. Then why are
I was
you
about to say it makes you
No.
think like this isn't the first time it's been an issue. Like maybe he
I
did
don't
have
know
his
about
one
that. I
chance.
don't know.
I mean, but the abruptness of this
This isn't the
and
first time he said
He
it.
was watching a lot of Fox
yeah,
News and OAN. That's all I'll say. That is
Come
all I'll
on,
say.
man. Fox has a lot of African American commentators.
I've watched none of them. None. I don't have TV.
One of them has a giant
everyone
wrestling
has
belt around his shoulder.
everyone knows someone with a Fox News dad.
Fox
Yeah,
News dads are the best dads.
not
That's a good dad.
look
He's
out for
better
the
than an
mom.
MSNBC dad.
Look out for the moms. I don't know where you
Dad, I
want
didn't
to.
know you were gay. No, so let's finish up on the Gundy situation real quick. I think that this is a huge distraction, though, whether he left or not. I also think when you look at Mixon and you look at some of these older players that are coming out and saying like this guy is not a racist at all, and we fully support him, and this is like an awful situation. They had the benefit of seeing this guy develop them over the years, and they
Yeah.
know the type of person he is. You got a true freshman in the back of that locker room or whatever, and hears him like just fucking shout out that word. Like, there's no coming back from that. There's no like, oh, you're gonna develop me, and like we're gonna be bros after this. I think that's where it's. I appreciate the Oklahoma alumni coming out and support, but at the same time, it's like you're not being coached by this guy anymore, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really fix anything.
I mean, just the second it happens, the locker room dynamic changes forever, like for everyone that's in there. So I just
Yeah.
look, man. I assume Cale Gundy's done well for himself. I think he'll be fine doing some chartered fishing for a year or two and probably find a quarterback coaching job or something for Stoops' brother or nephew or uncle or some other family friend. Ed
Or
Orgeron's
Zimmerman.
Ed
Yeah.
Orgeron's probably going to be a head coach somewhere by then. So, I mean, like, whatever.
So before we get into too much like full-blown college football talk, which we're about to dive right into that, I just want to say one thing, one observation from some of these videos that came out today, the videos that have been coming out the past like last week. I know we only have like 2 or 3 days of videos. Armani Goodwin,
Good runs.
good runs.
Yeah, good runs, good one.
Goodruns has some pop. Like he's got a little downhill burst to him that kind of reminds me of like you remember when like Geis or Spencer Ware just kind of had that like, oh
loose.
fuck, he's coming down the A gap and like you're done. Like you're gonna
looks
get at least 3 yards out of this.
Yeah, looks a little out of control. Like
out of control, but like it's a very controlled out of control. Yes. I don't know how to explain that.
I think we all get it. Oh, your brother's texting us for some reason. Figure out what that's about, Mike. Yeah, it is weird. It's got a Spencer Ware, I think, is a perfect, and obviously Geis, because that's how Geis ran every time. But Spencer Ware, it was like it was getting downhill, and almost like when you played a video game where you had to like maintain, or you would start falling a little bit and not like be able to fall. That's what it reminds me of. Good Runs has a lot of Good Runs potential.
Absolutely, I think. I think a three-headed monster with Kane. Good runs, good runs, and Emery. It's going to be fun to watch. I do think, like we talked about, Goodwin might be a cat that opens our eyes a little bit, and we have him for a couple more years, so that's pretty awesome to see too.
Well, and when Brian Kelly's asked about it, he says that he thinks all three guys will contribute, and I can see a scenario where all three of those guys do end up contributing for different games. And it's like some games, it's like, oh, well, Emery's not getting it done. So we need to get this guy to mix things up a little bit. Obviously these coaches are spending a lot of time figuring out what these guys do well, what these guys don't do as well as the others, to try to figure out the best person for each formation and every time they're out on the field. And I think they all bring different things.
So while we're on here, Grant, can you pull up the offensive line?
While we're here first, can we get rid of Trey Bradford?
Yeah, we need to wipe his ass. Wipe him clean.
We're not going to do anything else tonight until we get Trey Bradford's name off of this list.
But so we've got some inside sources that, that peak practice a little bit. But there was reports today of an O-line rotation that was sent out. I know Moscona talked about this rotation that we had going today. And like Denbrock talked about, they're trying Dellinger out at center. But it looks like the rotation that they would like to see is they want to get Bradford involved there. I think you could have Campbell and Bradford at the edges. The interior guards, you've got Tremont Shorts, who I'm very high on, and then Frazier, the transfer from FIU, and then Dellinger right there at center. I think that could possibly be your best five. And I think that today was the rotation that had some success. So look for those names. We just received a few messages that's a group that looked really, really good today. So yeah, little inside source there. So appreciate that. Ken Trayford will always hold a special place in our hearts. Chris Wilson. Yeah, Chris. Absolutely. Ken Trayford Bradford will always be a staple. What a name.
What a fun moment. Like what a good time. I don't know that we'll get these anymore since Grant's actually like on his game nowadays.
Where's he going?
Where is he going? I don't know. The classroom. I think he may not have had the grades. I don't know.
Maybe he didn't mean it to, but Brian Kelly sure didn't seem like he just like on his own accord decided to like go somewhere else.
He was like, word for word, he said Bradford's no longer associated with the university. It's like,
well, that's all I can say by law.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, that's a big deal.
It was one of those like, wait a second, did he? I don't even want to. We're not a speculative podcast, so we're not even going to throw out any jokes for something like that.
I really don't like how Besh has a lingering injury right now.
And hate it when he said that. When he said skin splints, Besh not really 100%. It killed me. It hurt me.
All these weeks leading up to it, all I've seen is like these photo shoots of Besh, like half nude, running around making these sick like Odell catches in a photo shoot. It's like shin splints.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, did it just pop up? I know.
Maybe Lamar Stevens is onto something. Maybe he knew.
Dude, if anybody knows, it's our boy Lamar.
All right, y'all want to get into your top 10s?
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's do it. We're at 34 minutes. So
I don't have
full disclosure. full disclosure, Grant went out of his way to do some awesome setup here. And like we said, we demanded this type of excellence from our intern for
I've
years now.
demanded this for 3 years.
For 3 years, we've been asking for this type of excellence, and we've got it now. We've got it. And last week he said, "Don't expect this every week," and we said, "No, this is every week." And he has delivered that product. So, yeah. So we did go over some of our top tens. Brett and I submitted them. Grant, did you make one?
No, I did make one.
So we both submitted our top tens to Grant to kind of put in like a little graphic. Guys, bear in mind, this is not like we know what the hell we're really talking about. This is just kind of like what we not predict, because obviously like the coaches poll came out today. So like it's not going to be exactly like this, but like we're going to kind of make a case for why we feel these teams are in the position they are. And then we'll throw a little, not a curveball at the end, but I kind of want to give like our playoff prediction. I kind of went through the season based on how I had this. And I kind of did the whole like, okay, if they win it this week, that's +2. I'm going to subtract this team 3. I kind of did the whole season. And dude, there could be some fucking fireworks at the end of the season.
But it just really sucks to be like, okay, who's your 4? Go. And you're like, well, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and Oklahoma. Sound good? Okay. And it's like, what the fuck? What do we spend all this time? Why do we care so much when like, oh, I missed Ohio State. Ohio State's going to be in there. There it is. And it's
but Michigan's ranked very highly coming in. That's a good team. What happens?
I don't see it happening again.
What happens if they get him at the end of the year? And what happens if you have an undefeated Utah and a Big 12 champion Baylor? Like here's the deal.
I understand that Ohio State, and we can pull up Ohio State's schedule when we talk about them a little bit more, but like Ohio State is going to get more media love than we could have ever imagined because they changed defensive coordinators. And it's like, we found the missing link, guys. Like our offense has been so sick and our defense has sucked and it's held us back. And I know it and everyone here knows it. I'm Ryan Day and I approve this message. Like we're going to get this bullshit and it's going to look great for a little bit. They may, I think Ohio State's probably better than Notre Dame. I think they're going to beat Notre Dame, but then they're probably going to cruise through some, a chill of their schedule, and they're just going to get pumped up. Oh my God, they're so good. And I think they're the best team in the Big Ten, but like be on the lookout for that. Let's not get too excited. Like
great opening game. Grant wanted us to see this.
He
wanted us to see that.
I don't know if they can afford me.
If they can hire Grant. I don't think they. I mean, they probably can't afford you actually. But
nothing will make me happier than to just peek in on that negotiating table. I can promise you that.
Who's to say they haven't already contacted me?
Dude, one team's got like 7 interns. Remember we were on that show? They had a whole production.
Yeah, and apparently they all suck.
Like this dude's got.
That was Jordy's show. Jordy sabotaged the Sampson commitment. It wasn't them.
Dude, I was watching that. I know we already talked about it, but I was watching that while I was getting ready for the wedding with my wife. And she was like, "What are you doing? What is this?" And I was like, "It's pretty bad." She's like, "Yeah, what? Turn this off. This is
jazz music."
I legitimately thought that we were like in a buffer, like how we just had a 2-minute countdown into a 30-second countdown to start the show. That's kind of how I thought that the Jordy stream was. And then the chat, I'm like half paying attention. The chat's like, "Oh, we did it," which once again, like we fucking already knew, guys. Like, calm it down.
Yeah.
But like, we fucking did it, LSU. And I was like, oh wait, this actually like happened.
And I feel bad because Lloyd probably had a big hand in this, and Lloyd's like a fan. Like Lloyd appreciates the content we put out.
I love all of them. Whatever. Like, I mean, Jordy, I like listening to Jordy's interviews. He's done a great job telling it. This is not like we're just gonna beat down on Jordy for what it is, but like it is what it is. I was not paying attention because I
you
thought
were texting Moscona.
Yeah, no, I always text Moscona.
The number one question I had was like, I don't know who was working all the 4 different videos of all the schools. Like, why was that not one video? That was one problem. And then you had a Will Stute, like the actual commitment video was a Will Stute production. Like, why did that?
Because they didn't hire your ass 3 years ago when we did. Done. Facts. Alabama, preseason number 1 for me. Let's get into it.
All right.
I think this pass rush that Alabama has is going to be a pass rush that is going to be high up there in the ranks of the best that they've had. Will Anderson is disgusting. Their defensive tackles are disgusting. It's just across the board legit. And then you've got Bryce Young coming back as the Heisman Trophy winner, and then you got Jahmyr Gibbs transferring from Georgia Tech. Like, can we just fucking call it? Like, can we give it a rest? Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of high school, I was slobbering over, dude. Wanted this cat so bad at LSU.
I didn't look up his numbers, but would be a very interesting Heisman sprinkle.
Of Gibbs, yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be dangerous. He's so fucking fast. I'm so pissed he went there. But it is what it is. Alabama, I have as number one. I don't see them having a ton of trouble until they play either A&M or in the SEC championship against Georgia. I think it's going to be another one of those years for Bama. At least going into it, I have them top.
I was watching some sort of like, Bama breakdown. It was like, my top 10, this person's top 10, whatever. And they were talking about Gibbs, and they were like, finally gives Alabama something that they've just been like missing in the backfield. It's like, you know what? No, fuck you. Like, Alabama has everything. Like, if they're missing something in the backfield, that's their own damn fault. Like, can we start just naming off all the running backs that they've produced? Like, screw you, finally.
Missing in the backfield. They had Kamara, and they didn't know how to use him.
Yeah, it's just like it really pissed me off at like 3:13 on a Monday afternoon. I was like, missing, fuck Alabama. They literally get whoever they want.
Missing,
it's their own fault. Missing. It just really chaffed me.
So how are we doing this, Grant? Is Brett giving his number one? Are we like arguing?
you run through your 10 and then
Got it. Okay. Next I have Ohio State.
Alabama, and obviously Alabama's on my list. Spoilers, they will make an appearance, but it's fun to see Alabama, Texas. It's like it's a game that Alabama's going to beat their ass, and it's going to be like, oh, whatever. Like I don't know. It's like not going to end up being as
great. They play
great.
both Texas schools this season. A&M in Texas. It should be a fun situation for. I don't know. I mean, like. You always get the best shot from everybody when you play Alabama. Anything can happen on any given Saturday.
There's gonna be no like BS of Lane, like get your popcorn ready, or like any bullshit before the game for the Alabama A&M game. But it is must see.
Oh, I can't wait.
You're clearing your Saturday and hoping that they bring Vern's fat ass back for one last ride. Like that, it is just
Chuggles will be in attendance.
It is must see TV when they play in your life. Like
so at number 2, I have Ohio State. I think CJ Stroud. A little sneak peek into further down in this episode. I do have him as my Heisman favorite for this season. I think he's got a lot of hype coming into the year, and most of it is warranted. I don't know if they're going to give it to Bryce Young back-to-back years. CJ Stroud has a very, very good command of this Ryan Day offense. They don't really play anybody most of the season. Henderson, I forgot his first name. Tredavian, something like that. Tredavian Henderson. Really good running back. They've got like a 2-headed monster back there. So like they have a decent running game. I think they've got
good receivers.
Really good receivers. Jigbu or whatever. Like I don't know. It's tough. It's like I'm not. Yeah,
Jackson. He's a stud. And then they have
whatever his name is.
It's Jackson Smith, Nick Jigbo,
and
Jigbo
something.
Yeah, I'm not reading off an iPad, but I do. He's a good player, and I do think that he's probably up there behind Butte as one of the best receivers in the country. They have a disgusting offensive line like that. It's a very SEC-esque offensive line. Defensively, like you said, Brett, they do have a new defensive coordinator. I know they're kind of hyped up about that. They always have dudes. I think this is a big year for Ohio State. So I see them kind of easily going into the playoffs. Contravian Henderson. Thanks, Kyle.
It's got to be.
That's it. Third, I've got Georgia. The returning, defending national champions, Stetson Bennett, reigning. Stetson Bennett had got a haircut. He looks good. Shaved his head. Got a necklace. What?
Can we pause and just take a look at the schedule? Like, yes, you start out with Oregon. You start out with a pretty premier game. I think we would all lean Georgia in this game.
Yeah, Georgia looks like they could easily run the table.
And it's just like, and we'll definitely get into it whenever I get to my top 10. But like, it shaped the way I seeded them.
Yeah, don't you have them at 1?
I did. I put them at 1 because I just thought it was most likely them being number 1 going to the SEC championship game, which means that they're automatically into the playoff, which means they're most likely in the national championship.
They have Auburn. They have Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee all at home.
Yeah, it's a good year for them.
Like, we're assuming Auburn kind of sucks. Like, yes, Florida.
They
have to play every year, but like, I mean, when Florida's your toughest game, look at LSU's schedule. Look at Bama's schedule. I mean, Bama doesn't play Florida, but like Florida's maybe 3, 4, fourth best, fifth game on the schedule, and that's like the marquee matchup. It's like, yes, it is a tough game, but you have to get by 1. A lot of other schools have to get by 4.
I kind of have that switched up though, Brad. Like how you just mentioned, I feel like Alabama's going to run the table, and then they could run into that buzzsaw against Georgia at the end, and I see Georgia could flip that. Huge Erection says UGA favored by 17 against Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a massive. I mean, look, man, last time I bet, I think we watched this game together when it was Auburn, Oregon, and Bo Nix just decided to start heaving sideline fucking dimes, and like,
that was at Grant's house.
It was at we recorded. We did it was at Grant and Chris's house.
Yeah, that's right.
Into the garage and did the pod afterwards. But yeah, I mean, it was just I don't know. It just made me think about that.
So next up, I do have Clemson as number 4. I think Clemson is definitely loaded with talent, and I think DJ Ungale is somebody that winning 10 games last year was a bad season for them, and he was not the quarterback they expected. I think these are the type of seasons that Dabo Swinney rebounds pretty aggressively. They don't have a tough schedule either. I don't see them going undefeated. I don't have Clemson in the playoffs, but I do think they're a team early on in the year that are going to make some noise. They're going to be very talented, and so they're going to be highly ranked for most of the season, but I do see them stumbling throughout the year. But I think going into it, they deserve a decent ranking here. Next, I have Utah, my first little Cinderella.
NC State and Clemson. NC State is going to be a game.
Yeah, NC State's a decent team for
sure.
Beat
them last year. They got a little bit of an offense. Like that's your Clemson.
Wake Forest is another team that people are hyping up right now too.
Yeah, and it feels like it could be one of those where like a lot of these teams play Clemson tough, and Clemson just like keeps edging it out, keeps winning at the end.
Utah is my number 5. I actually have Utah eventually making the playoff. We'll get into that later. I think that Whittingham is a coach that has a lot to kind of prove in these kind of final stages of the Pac-12, who can come out on top towards the end of this era of this conference. They have a big matchup with USC, which I believe they're the better team. This is a program that actually has a lot of talent, and they're very well coached. And a big game against Florida right out of the gate, which I do think they win. I think the spread right now against Florida is like maybe -2, 2.5, something like that. I think they cover.
Yeah, misdirection will fill us in. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I think Utah is poised and primed for a very good season out west. So I have them at 5.
I'll tell you this. Go ahead. My Oregon guy that I was with this weekend said that they're above and beyond the best team in the Pac-12. He said he doesn't think there's no one even close. USC's not close. Oregon's not close.
It's hard to say USC's not close when they haven't played a snap yet under the new coach.
They're close. He just believes in the Utah.
Utah's very good. Right Utah's very. Yeah. I do think they're better. Yeah, Utah's very.
He thinks highly of them. Put it that way.
Very good. Well, then I'm in.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good pick at 5. Not pick,
trust
but
this guy. Then who can we trust? No, Utah is a team that it's about time they kind of make that like next step and don't lose that stupid game to some Stanford or something that they shouldn't. Because they have potential to really run the table. Maybe I'm sure it's like this every year, but I feel like we get a lot of these we're getting a lot of these good little matchups here, like a Florida Utah. That is just like something that we've never seen before and may never see
Yeah,
again.
it's really cool.
And it's like, Notre Dame, Ohio State's a little different, but I just feel like there's a couple more of those games. And I think, as we look more into it, I'm sure some of those like Bama, Texas are sprinkled into week 2, but it's going to be a fun, like, first couple weeks to open college football.
It absolutely is, dude. Any other year, I'm just kind of like, oh, Utah, Florida, whatever. Like, I'll watch it, but like
Yeah.
this actually has some juice on the line here. Like, this is Utah is potentially a playoff team this year going into the season. So if you stumble right out the gate against Florida, like, you're done. Your season's over.
Covering that Rose Bowl, they've earned my trust and dedication and heart, and we're going to be riding them week 1 against Florida.
Sick uniforms too. That's going to be a fun uniform game.
Yeah.
So at number 6, this is tough for me because 6 and 7 are interchangeable. But I'll go right out for it. Michigan, I have at number 6. I think, coming back as the defending Big Ten champions, they finally got over the hump. I know I'm a Michigan guy, and I know that I know last year was tough for everybody to watch me be happy for the first time for
you gave up on him, Mike.
my number 2 team back there. I did.
You don't get to claim that.
But I think Jim Harbaugh, I can't see Jim just kind of like putting his cards in now. I feel like he's kind of gotten over that hump. He's got a couple really good quarterbacks. McNamara is actually a really good quarterback. They have a very good offense. Their defense is stout. They return a ton of players. They don't have a tough schedule. I could see Michigan making some noise, and I think right in the middle of the road of that top 10 is a pretty fair ranking. It is, though, interchangeable, in my opinion, with my number 7, which is Baylor. I think Baylor is a very good football team. Dave Aranda has a lot of good stuff cooking. Again, pretty straightforward schedule out there. They started the year last season, not rocky, but like you could see them improve throughout the year. Dave Aranda is a hell of a coach, and they're going to keep improving. I don't see them falling back. I think what you saw from Baylor last season is kind of the standard now for that program, and I could see him building upon that. So going into it, being ranked in that back half of the top 10, 6, 7, 8, something like that, I think that's fair game for Baylor.
Baylor turning into what they're turning into under Aranda, like, how is that not what Brian Kelly is about to do and more? I feel like that's a decent comparison from a coach in Brian Kelly has had even more success, and everyone's
with like structure and
Aranda.
Organization and scrapping all the other traditions and tendencies and be like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. Yeah, I mean, I could see some similarities there. The difference is obviously,
but from day one, everyone bought into Aranda at Baylor. There was no question marks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your alternative, but never mind. We're not going to go. Well, never mind.
Yeah.
Because we could. Never mind. Just going to let that lie. Baylor's a team that, like, I could definitely see them tripping up and losing a game here or there, but it's like they're just going to be a tough out. Like any team that beats them, you're going to have to kind of go beat them. So I know that sounds really dumb to say out loud, but a lot of people know what I'm talking about, where it's like Baylor's not going to beat themselves.
They're not going to give you the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, in the fourth quarter, they're going to be scrappy and make a play, cause a turnover. Like, it's just, it feels like Baylor was never really out of games last year. And it was like, oh, we can make this crazy comeback, even though we're not like an Art Briles Baylor offense. They just, I don't know. They just feel like a tough out. And Michigan's going to be interesting to see. It's always kind of curious how you respond when you think you're the shit and you walk into a semifinal game and get absolutely beat down. It's just interesting how you're going to respond. It's like Harbaugh thought he was going to the NFL for a minute. Now he's back. Now he's saying, if you want to have a kid but can't have a kid or something, like, let me know. I'll take care of him. Like, shit's getting weird up there, man.
He's a 2% milk drinker, dude, daily.
No chicken. Won't eat nervous bird.
But no, I think Michigan is also one of those atmospheres. They're psychotic. They're very similar to us, where like you get a little momentum going in Michigan, it's kind of hard to stop that train. Like they want excellence, they want championships, and they give them a little taste of that Big Ten championship. Now all of a sudden, it's like I don't see them just flopping the next year. That's how I'd look at that. I like Baylor, but the Tech game on the road seems like a trap. I was going to say, when it comes to Baylor, Tech's a decent team that they could play, like you said. Oklahoma State, it's really Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is one of their biggest hurdles, and that's who I have as my number 8 team.
Yeah,
is the Oklahoma Sooners.
You get Kansas, you get a nice little beat up on Kansas for a little while, and then you have Tech sandwiched in there before a look ahead to OU. It's definitely a sneaky spot. I don't know. Obviously, you could convince me of Alabama or Georgia goes clean, but it's like I think we're gonna see more of these 1-2 loss teams just everywhere.
I do too, and the thing that's kind of scary though is the teams that could go unscathed. Utah, Utah could go unscathed. I think if Baylor truly is to that point of getting over that hump and Dave Aranda has a monster brewing down there, they could actually be way better
he's
coached
got
than
a
anybody
monster
they play.
brewing down there.
I look, man, I know that they were very close to being in the college football playoffs, but I'm not ready to sit here. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Come on. All right. That's fine. Oklahoma. This is somebody that you do like. Oklahoma. But although I do have Oklahoma playing out the season and dropping out of the top 10, I think coming into the year, though, Oklahoma is a decent squad. I don't think Venables can just come out and be the fucking dude right out of the gate. I know he's got Dylan Gabriel. That's a big boost to the offense. And I think he's got I forgot the OC's name, but he pulled him over from Ole Miss. I mean, he's a very good offensive coordinator.
Starts with an L. Yeah, you can keep going.
Someone will jump in here within 10 seconds. But their offense is going to be fine. Is it going to be something where you've got?
I thought Shay got into the chat. I got way too excited.
Look at Fred got excited.
You see my neck whip?
Yeah, you're like, nah, it's just Moscona.
No, it's just Moscona.
But defensively, Brent Venables is going to have Levy. Yes, Jeff Levy. So Levy's running that offense with Dylan Gabriel, who's a transfer from. Here's another one you got to look up. UCF.
UCF. Yep.
Yeah. So, really good quarterback, a good offensive coordinator, and then one of the most legendary in our current era of college football defensive coordinators as of late, taking over as the head coach of Oklahoma. Big distractions this week. So
yeah, I had too many question marks for Oklahoma. You lose your star quarterback, I didn't stutter. Somehow they lost 2 star quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
They lost Rattler and Caleb. Yeah.
They lose their coach that everyone thought for some reason was going to be at OU for 45 years and retire. There was too many question marks. OU, we can look at the schedule. Very excited, extremely excited to see a September 17th matchup at Nebraska. That's college football. That's
talk about hot seat.
Yeah, a little bit of a hot seat. Frosted, a little cool throne, a little frosty throne. But it's just, could Oklahoma be good this year and everything? Obviously, dude, October 8th is a monster of a day for college football, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's Bama, A&M, that's LSU, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia. Dude, jam-packed. We're going to have to get some more TVs in the studio. But, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. There's too many question marks for Oklahoma for me to have put them in my top 10. Spoilers for whenever we get there.
Notice that.
Number 9, I have Texas A&M. I know a lot of people are going to hate me here for throwing them in the top 10, but guess what, guys? It's a new era at Kyle Field. College Station has something brewing, and it's money. It's recruiting. They were a really good team last year, dude, straight up. I know we beat them, but they beat Bama last season. They had a good team, and they returned plenty of players, and they loaded up on that recruiting class. If you just go down that recruiting class from last season and you think, hey, maybe if I'm an A&M fan, hopefully a third of these cats actually pan out, then you have one of the most dominant recruiting classes still. They got 5 of the top 10 defensive tackles in the nation. It's crazy. Their defense is going to be very stout. They have a very good running back coming back. Haynes King or Max Johnson is going to be the quarterback.
MJ. Yeah.
So who knows what really happens there at A&M at the quarterback position. But going into the season, I think a lot of people have them in the top 4, top 5. I think 9 is respectable, but at the same time keeping my LSU badge of honor. Get the fuck out of here. Chasing thoughts. Mike probably has A&M underwear on. Let's see what we got. Free balling it. So yeah.
Free ball.
Oh man.
So you do have A&M underwear.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I'm just so excited because there's gonna be a moment where Max Johnson's gonna throw the ball behind his back or out of his ass or something, and just the walk over to the sidelines to see Jimbo with his little glasses on the very tip of his nose, like he's at bingo at the fucking honor society, the Lions Club. Like I'm ready for that because it's.
Could you imagine Max Johnson throwing a ball out of his asshole?
No, I mean that'd be impressive. It'd be one of those things like how do we let that get away, guys? Like
I feel like Jimbo would have to crack a smile. Like he would just have to be like, "Where do we get this guy?" He'd like look at
you dirty dog.
Try to make eye contact with Brad. Be like, "Your boy is gross."
Ed
boy is gross.
No idea what he had. Oh, fuck.
Number 10, I have USC. I do have USC coming in the top 10. I know a lot of people are like, what the hell, dude? Like, how do you not have Notre Dame? How do you not have Michigan State? How do you not at least have Arkansas, Ole Miss, Kentucky, whatever? USC, I think, is prime for a nice showing. I think they're flashy. The media is going to love them. Caleb Williams is a dog. Everyone knows I'm a big Caleb Williams apologist. I love the kid.
His underwear on.
I got a Caleb Williams boxer brief on. No, I think Lincoln's a great offensive mind. I don't think you have to be awesome right out of the gate at USC. I think he's got some time to build it, and he got a shit ton of transfers. They're not just like the same old Clay Helton, weak ass USC. I think these guys actually have some talent. Are they at the level that can compete in the playoffs? No. But do I think that they could be a top 10 team? Yeah. And they're in the Pac-12.
It's definitely an interesting approach. Lincoln went out there, and it's not, and you can say that you're doing both at the same time. That's fine. But Lincoln's not going out saying, guys, hey, we're going to build this program from the ground up. It was, hey, I'm pulling a Willie Beeman and taking my star quarterback out to California with me. Oh, yeah, I'm taking a running back or a wide receiver. I'm going to go get the guy from Pitt. I'm going to take another guy from OU. And he just kind of went out and got this all-star team. And something we kind of talked about in reference to Josh Pate talking about LSU, what happens after they lose 2 or 3 games? Like, if you have that locker room full of all these guys who know that they're first-round picks, they're just kind of coming here for the one-year flash, like, it could just turn real sideways for Lincoln Riley real quick in USC.
Absolutely. No, I don't disagree with that. I think talent-wise going into it, coaching-wise going into it, and then like just the fertile tradition that USC provides. And obviously they're eager to win again by purchasing a cat like Lincoln Riley. I think it's going to bode well for them. I think USC could be a team. And we're going to get into that in a minute, talking about who's back between USC, Texas, and Miami. And being back is very relative. I don't think playoff is back, but I think USC.
Yeah, I'd be very excited to have USC start rounding into form and being a team that can make it to the playoffs every couple of years, especially going into the Big Ten, where they're going to get to have some really cool matchups against Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, a team that's probably going to barely miss out on everyone's top 10s that could end up making some noise.
Notre Dame at the end of the year. That's a fun game. Marcus Freeman versus Lincoln Riley. Like, that's going to be a great showing at the last week of the season. I would much rather have USC and Miami back than Texas.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. All right.
All right, Brett, top 10.
All right. Let's all find out what this.
Can we applaud here? Is that a decent 10 or what? Like,
yeah. I mean,
okay. All right. Can we applaud?
I think we have mostly all the same teams, a little different order. Number 1 team, Georgia Bulldogs, the reigning, defending heavyweight champions of the world. I feel like if you beat Bama to end the season, to put the title belt on, I think you deserve to at least get the number one spot rolling in. That's just how I felt. Georgia is a team, and looking at their schedule again,
they lost a lot. They
absolutely did. They have to replace a lot on defense. They also recruit better than everyone. Kirby Smart will gladly tell you 10 walk-ons on top of 85 scholarship players have NIL deals in place. I'm not saying Georgia's the best team. I'm not saying that they're going to be number one at the end, even though I think they have a chance to make it to the dance. I'm just saying I think they deserve to be number one. You beat Bama. It's not like they beat someone else and like skirted around it. They got their ass kicked by Bama, showed up and kind of put it to them.
Listen, valid argument. That top three, no matter what order you put them in, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, I think those are the top three teams in the country. I'm assuming those are your next two.
Yeah, Ohio State number 2. You don't want to know why? Because Alabama hasn't done shit recently. All they can do is just get to the playoff. They can't do it. But yeah, sure, they can win a Mickey Mouse national title with no fans and everything. But like, you know, we got to start putting Nick Saban on the hot seat. Like he just, as he's gotten older, it seems like he can't really win the big game. So this is a statement to Nick Saban. No, I mean, I don't know. I just looked at them and I was like, I'm not going Georgia, Alabama. Let me just throw Ohio State in there.
Ohio State's a great squad.
I think Ohio State's going to be really good. I'm interested to see if their defense is going to – I don't know why, and this may be not fair, but it does kind of remind me a little bit of when Oklahoma got Grinch, and they were like, guys, it's going to be an instant turnaround. Like, oh, my God, can't wait. And then it was like, no, their defense still kind of sucks. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Grant, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's one of those things where, like, I feel like Ohio State could still lose to Notre Dame, and then that, like –
yeah.
That changes the whole, like the end of their season, they're like fighting back. And then they're like, oh, well, Notre Dame played Ohio State. It's kind of like the Georgia Clemson last year, where it's like the two guys played each other. And then we got to see what happens at the end. But I agree. Ohio State
that is true. Georgia is always due for a hiccup, though.
100%. Yeah, it's like if you just look at their schedule, you're just like, well, let's just count W's. But this is the same team that was pretty solid and lost to a shitty South Carolina team. And, you can pick a year and find a shitty loss. I'm sure it is. Like I said, this is mostly just because they finished on top and they beat Bama. If they would have beat someone else in the title game, Bama would probably be number one for me.
Yeah, and again, this is going into the season. This is not truly finishing out the year. But you do have Georgia finishing out number one, right?
I think they'll be in the playoff. Like I can see them losing a game, possibly SEC championship style game, and then, being the 4th seed again. And it's like people are going to bitch and be like, college football is so stupid. It doesn't matter. But
it's the best sport in the world.
It would be obviously one of the two in Alabama and Georgia are going to be in the playoff. And I think it's more likely than not that both of them are in. Number 4. I don't know who number 4 is. So you're going to have to click the button. Utah. I couldn't put Clemson here. Like I just could not. I could not make myself put Clemson here. Even though once again, like if you look at Clemson's schedule, it does seem like it's going to be, they're going to be quote unquote back. I know they won 10 games and some people called the end of the Clemson dynasty already, but I just couldn't bring myself to put them 4. I think Utah is a really fun team. Like I said, when you give me that Rose Bowl cover, when a guy almost dies on the field and the backup still comes out and gets you a cover, you deserve to get the last playoff spot to start the season in my book. Utah Utes, fun team, gritty team. Just excited.
Probably Clemson 5 then, right?
I have no idea. Number 5 team in the country.
Grant, go ahead and hit the button.
Clemson. Tigers. Clemson's a team that, like, if you look at this schedule and you're like, they're going to be in the playoff. It's like, do they really turn it around? I think DJ Uiagalelei is an incredible little sprinkle on a Heisman. Like, imagine saying, hey, you're going to get like the number 1 quarterback out of high school off a 10-win season at Heisman odds of 70-1 or whatever he is. It's like, there's just a chance that this dude ends up actually being good and they start rolling all these shitty teams and putting up great numbers. But
Notre Dame, Miami, South Carolina, they're going to lose to at least one of those teams. That's just how I see it. And I think you're going to have
But a lot of other teams you're going to lose too.
Right, but I know. But I also think that they're like, you're going to have the Utahs, the Michigans, the Baylors, like someone else is going to sneak in there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, man. Clemson. I would love for the Clemson dynasty to be over. Honestly, I'm sick of Dabo.
Would you rather Miami take over that conference?
Yeah, because Miami's fun. because you can make fun of them and say like they're all criminals and everything. And like, there's just like, it's just Clemson. You're just like, this dude.
I don't know. We've never done that. We've never done that in this century though. So like, I don't know if that could fly.
I know.
Would you rather Florida State or Miami take over?
Miami.
Yeah.
Miami's sick, dude. Like
Yeah.
they're the school that like made wearing visors cool.
They're one of the only schools or people or anything that got a 2-parter 30 for 30. All right. It's all about the U. No, it would just be fun because Miami seems like the cool South Beach where like all this NIL shit's been going on for 100 years. And it's like just now it's like, oh, I didn't know we couldn't do any of this stuff. So yeah, give me Miami. So that leads us to our number 6 team, the Miami Hurricanes.
No.
Notre
Dame. Dude, throwing them
they're
out
in here.
quick.
No, they're in here, but they're at the end. We'll get there.
Oh, easy. Don't be spoiling my list now.
You got a Miami in the top 10?
No, just wait, Mike.
Just wait, Mike. I didn't interrupt you once. Notre Dame is such a hard team to play.
Floor's all yours. Sorry.
I'm just kidding. I interrupted you a million times. Notre Dame is such an interesting team to place. It's like I could have put them 10 and felt decent about it. Feels like we talked about it before we started the stream that it feels like Marcus Freeman is getting like coaching love for how much he's crushing the recruiting trail, which is like obviously doesn't mean shit when it comes to coaching. Great defensive coach, blah, blah, blah. Seems like all the players have bought in. It just feels like a safe spot to kind of nestle Notre Dame in. A loss to Cincinnati, I think, which was a pretty close game that they had some turnovers in the red zone away from being in the college football playoff under Brian Kelly. And we're just kind of forgot about them because of some of this Brian Kelly stuff in the offseason and everything. So I don't know. I just kind of closed my eyes and threw a dart at Notre Dame at number 6.
Marcus Freeman's a great coach. I think outside of Brent Venables, he's one of the best defensive minds out there currently in the game.
And Aranda,
absolutely. I do think he's getting a little too much hype going into his first season as a head coach. What is this? Huge Erection says also he's recruiting a class that Brian Kelly and Pauline did a lot. Yeah, no, his recruiting class is sick.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here like, well, our guy helped do this. Like, yeah, dude, Marcus Freeman's
he's doing great. No, he's doing great. But like you said, that doesn't mean anything for going into this season on how he's going to be as a head football coach. You know who else was a dominant defensive coordinator? Let's see, Will Muschamp. There's Bo Pelini. There's a long list of coordinators who
it's just star ratings and who's cool and who's not doesn't mean shit when you line up at the shoe at Ohio State, on September 3rd. It's like no one cares at that point.
No, do I think Marcus Freeman's going to do great, quote unquote, at Notre Dame? I think he's going to do well. I don't anticipate Marcus Freeman blowing it and getting fired year 3. Like I think he's somebody that they are going to give him a leash. Yeah, but like I don't see
depending on the conference situation.
But yeah, it does. But my point is I don't see this happening like right out the gate. I don't think they're like some dominant team year 1. They are getting a lot of hype that would lead you to believe that if you're not really paying attention to their roster and their schedule. I mean, they start off against Ohio State. They have to play Clemson. They have USC to finish the year. Stanford. And then their normal season with BYU's a decent team. North Carolina's well coached. I mean, like there's hiccups along the way.
I think they're the type of team that can go 10-2, but still be ranked in the top 10 at the end of the year. You know, I mean, I don't think that's.
Well, they're always going to have that like name brand respect, but like as long as they're not 10-2 and like number 4, then I'm okay.
No, I think they go 10-2 and they're ranked 9th to go in the bowl season.
It is what it is.
It feels like Brian Kelly got Notre Dame to their ceiling, and that's making it to the college football playoff. And I think that Marcus Freeman has the ability to not this year, maybe not next year, but at some point, have a team in the college football playoff.
I had Notre Dame at 11. Could I have easily switched that with 10 or 9? Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to sneak Oregon in here at like 7, just to ooze about Bo Nix, and you would just have to sit there and like take it for a little bit. But I didn't. I gave
I'm a Bo Nix guy. What do you mean?
No, I know. I would have made you just like sit here and be like, I'm talking, Mike. I'm talking about Bo Nix. And be like, you didn't have Bo Nix in your top 10. And so I could just talk about him. A&M just goes into yours. It's like you're probably going to get a little extra bump from me just because of the recruiting and all that stuff. I think they have question marks. I'm not 100% sure they have a quarterback that's going to get it done. As some people in the comments have said, I'm not the biggest fan of Jimbo as a play caller, head coach, liaison, OC, and whatever else he claims his title to be. I just feel like I just couldn't keep putting teams like I know Michigan made the playoff last year, but if like I just told myself if Michigan and Texas A&M were playing week 1, I would have the line at Texas A&M minus a couple. So I had A&M here.
Yeah, where is Michigan in here?
I think they're 8.
Okay.
Because I put Notre Dame twice and not – oh, no, it was Baylor. Baylor, that's right.
Whoa.
Michigan's going to be
Baylor.
9, spoiler alert. But Baylor, I feel like we kind of already talked about a lot of this stuff, and I just think Baylor's going to have a good season. I think they're towards, if not number 1, like the elite of the Big 12. Like I trust them to beat Oklahoma. I trust them over Texas. I trust them over a lot of these schools. That doesn't mean they're going to win them all. But I just looking at it now, it's like, yeah, they should win that game. Number 9, Michigan, because you got to have Michigan in there because Mike would just like throw a hissy fit and quit the show.
No, you have to do this. If you're going to be a respectable podcaster, you got to have Michigan in the top 10.
Yeah. Do I think they're going to finish the season top 10? Probably not. Like it feels like an auto loss already for me for Ohio State, because it's just like I think Ohio State's going to be really good. Michigan beats them for the first time. You get that little bit of like restore order bullshit. But yeah, dude, their schedule, obviously, Penn State, Michigan, whatever. Iowa's always a tough game, but their schedule doesn't look anything wild.
If you have an undefeated Ohio State versus an undefeated Michigan, an undefeated Georgia versus an undefeated Alabama, and an undefeated Utah, all going into that last week.
I agree. I'm not sold on Michigan at all. It's just hard. Like, are you going to put NC State here?
Thanks for answering, Kyle. I appreciate that. Thanks for answering, Kyle, and not me.
What did you say? What was your question?
What did I say?
I have no idea. I wasn't listening to you.
It was like 20 minutes.
Like, Jim Harbaugh is so good. Oh, my God, dude, the helmets. Like, it's just they always have a defensive end. Like, Mike Hart at running back. Tom Brady went there. I've heard it all from you, Mike.
They were in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, they were.
Grant, did you hear my question?
No chance.
I ruined it. What?
All right, so you have a 3-way tie for the Whooms.
The Whooms back of the top 10.
I could not follow that thread today when you were explaining that.
Well, one of these teams is back in a top 10 team. We just don't know who. But like preseason, like these are all the teams that they're back this year. So
okay. So let's talk about it. Do you think one of these actually does finish in the top 10? I mean, obviously, I have USC in the top 10.
No, I think top 15. Like, I think each of these teams, two losses is kind of like a minimum. It just doesn't seem like Miami, just because Cristobal comes in there and Ed Orgeron spent a week beating his chest and pulling on a rope or some bullshit. Like, they're not going to just be able to walk out there and beat every team on their schedule. Texas, we can just auto loss 1 with Bama there. In week 2, you got Oklahoma, Baylor to fight against. USC kind of in the same boat. Notre Dame, those teams. Like, I feel like all these teams are 2 losses is kind of a good. LSU's back. Of course, LSU didn't leave. Ed Orgeron just kind of had a little bender, and now we're back.
I've got LSU at 13. But we'll talk about that in a second.
It was can we be honest that it was very jarring to kind of see some of these top 25s come out and there's just not a Toonces Tiger anywhere to be found?
Yeah, it sucks. But I definitely think that's added motivation. That's added a little fuel to the fire against Florida State to come out and really make our presence known. Listen, LSU has the talent. They have the coaching. We will be ranked very soon. I think week 2, we're going to be well in that top 20. So I'm not worried about that.
LSU will be ranked higher than all 3 of these teams at the end of the year. USC, Texas.
So I have a couple questions here about these 3 schools. Who do you predict 3 years from now being the most successful program? It's a very difficult question because in my opinion, I think Cristobal is the best coach.
Miami. It's got to be Miami. If you can just plant your flag in South Florida and become the school and take whomever you want, and you're not recruiting against Florida and Florida State, you're recruiting against Georgia and Bama and the elites of the elites in that area. Cristobal is shown to be able to get it rolling at a program. Texas, just having Texas go to the SEC just makes it like I just can't pick them because you can look at it and be like they could be really good and still in that Texas.
Yeah, but they got Arch over there though.
Fuck Arch,
Good
man.
God, I thought you piped in somebody like in the Twitter space or something. I'm like, who the hell is that? Is that Big Orange Mac?
I have no idea what's going to happen with the ACC, and that's where the question mark with Miami arises more with me than anything else. USC, I could see Lincoln getting it rolling there, but going to the Big Ten, it's like I don't know that any of these teams are really going to be like the super dominant one unless the ACC somehow stays with some sort of faction of it is and Miami gets going.
I think the ACC has a little more firepower than people think. I do believe Clemson and Miami have a good strength to them that could keep that conference aligned. What is this? Lamar Stevens. Texas might beat Bama. I like their D line. Texas does have a good D line. I did see that. Like their defense is good. I don't think they beat Bama.
I gave up a long time ago trying to talk myself into teams beating Bama. It's just most likely not going to happen. That's fine. Texas is the most interesting team on this list for this year for me, 100%. Like I'm very interested.
If Quinn Ewers is good, then we're all in trouble.
You got a running back. You got some talent at skill position. You don't really know what you have on defense, but like they're as interesting as any team in the country. They remind me of Ole Miss, like how excited I was about Ole Miss last year. I kind of have that feeling about Texas. It could be a train wreck, but I have to see it.
Miami or ACC and Big 12, like who's got the better conference this year?
Big 12.
This year, yeah, Big 12. I think Mario Cristobal going to Miami kind of changes that, but not immediately. It's not this year. I think that's why I asked the question of like looking ahead in 3 years because he's building Miami from the ground up. He's not coming in.
My thing is like they could very well beat A&M at A&M. Like I don't think that's that would be wild, but like that is what
that'd be
puts
amazing.
them.
That'd be amazing.
I would be ecstatic.
Like what? It's probably not going to happen. But like
no,
college football, anything can happen.
Do we think Trevante Citizen's going to start as a freshman there? Have we read anything about that?
Hadn't thought of it too much, Mike, if we're being honest. Hadn't put much thought into it.
I mean, like, okay, if any of these Louisiana thoroughbreds are going to leave the state, like, he's the first one that I'm kind of excited to see somewhere else in some other colors. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you see Trevante Citizen just, like, crushing it at running back for Miami on the resurgence under Mario Cristobal, I'm kind of like, good for you, kid. You know, like, I would love to have you at LSU. That's obviously where I want you to be. But I would much rather you there than at Bama, Florida State, Texas, you know, Auburn, any of those places.
But yeah, I completely agree. Like Miami's the team to watch. It's going to be interesting to see, will they turn back into the cool school that's starting to get all these recruits again? But yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to like pick an NC State or a Wisconsin or an Oregon or some random team to put in the top 10. I was just like, yeah, we're going with three-way tie of the whom's back top 10.
Where did you have LSU?
I put LSU in that 15-ish range. Like you get into this muddy waters of like, well, obviously I think LSU's better than Oklahoma State. Obviously I think they're better than Wisconsin. And so it's like, well, okay, then what are you going to do? Put them at 9? Like I think LSU is going to be as good at be able to beat anyone on their schedule as well as just about any other team. I think they're going to lose. They're going to slip up like we've talked about for weeks, 1 or 2 more games. But it's just like, if you catch this team when they're clicking and they're bought into this system of not making mistakes and all the meticulous details, like they're a tough out.
Catch me slipping. Yeah, Notre Dame I have at 11. Michigan State I have at 12. I think Michigan State's another team that is very well coached. They've got a lot of momentum right now. They're in a very, power heavy conference that I think they play that brand of football pretty well. So I
LSU
think,
got their coach a nice little raise.
yeah, Mel Tucker definitely kind of used some leverage here. Good for him. He got paid, and I think he's a good recruiter. I think Michigan State's going to be a good program. So I think 12 is fair. I've got LSU right there at 13.
But like if I told you LSU and Michigan State were opening the season in Dallas, who would you take?
That's a tough game, dude. I'll be straight up honest with you. After watching Mel Tucker's
It
Michigan
is.
State team last season, I know they lost a lot. I know they lost their running back. They don't have like the studs all across the board that they had last year. I think that's a pretty even matchup. That's why I have them neck and neck right there at 12 and 13. Obviously I'm going to go with LSU because I'm a fan, but like if I'm on the outside looking in, like that's a coin flip. That's a
I
very
don't.
even.
And like as an LSU fan, I don't care what the rank is preseason. I'm curious what LSU's rank is going to be heading into the Alabama game.
Some other guys on the outside looking in. I've got Arkansas right behind us. Texas, I do have up there in the top 15. Ole Miss,
Ole Miss, you have to throw in
Kentucky,
there. Yes.
Oregon, Oklahoma State, and Miami. That kind of rounds out my top 20.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin sprinkled in there somewhere. They have a good quarterback who, allegedly they're going to unleash this year. They always have a running game, best defense probably in the country with Jim Leonard. So I think they're a team that probably doesn't get a ton. They don't get talked about a ton, and they're just going to keep being Wisconsin and lose those couple games where they'll lose to Illinois for no reason at all. But like I think they're a team worth mentioning. I'm trying to see Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a team that, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've been like diving into Pittsburgh camp reports and shit. Like, nothing would make me happier than some of these SEC or ACC teams getting a little more spry and being able to take down the Clemsons of the world.
My playoffs going in, I do think I have Ohio State at number 1 at the end of the season.
It's good. I don't even want to hear it, Mike. Where's Bama's number 2?
No, Utah's number 2. Utah runs the table, and they get in there at 2. Bama loses to UGA in the SEC championship. UGA slides in there at number 3 because UGA has a loss earlier in the season. And then Bama rounds out number 4. Now, here's the tricky part. There's a decision to make there, though, because you have a 1-loss Bama, you have a 1-loss Michigan, you've got Baylor that I think could potentially, at the worst, have 1 loss, but they also could have a Big 12 championship.
There will never be a discussion. If it's Bama and someone else, it's Bama.
But okay, and then Michigan as well with 1 loss. So, but let's say for instance, Michigan and Ohio State run the table, and then Michigan beats Ohio State, okay, and then UGA Bama play both undefeated, and UGA beats Bama, and then you have an undefeated Utah, and you have a Big 12 champion Baylor.
No, Dave Aranda have fun in the fucking Fiesta Bowl. That's what happens. I mean, it's just what's going to happen. We've seen it We've seen it anytime the Big Ten had the chance to be kicked out.
But who gets in with the 1 loss? Is it the loser of the Big 12, Big 10 championship, or the SEC?
SEC. Bama or Georgia will just always get the benefit of the doubt. That's what happens when you have a trophy case bursting out with these stupid vagina-looking trophies.
And then I've got C.J. Stroud winning the Heisman. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I mean, C.J. Stroud, I think, is if you're going to bet someone preseason, like you want to feel confident about it, like he would be the guy I would take. I think I mentioned it throughout. I think DJ Uiagalelei is worth a sprinkle. I think if you're getting really crazy, you want to maybe sprinkle the Bama running back because it's just possible he just goes insane.
I think Brandon Walker has that pick.
Oh, really? I don't watch any of their shows except the Yak is the only thing I
follow
see
him on Twitter.
Brandon Walker. He blocked me, so I can't follow him.
Did he really?
Yeah, dude, he made a shitty shirt, and I said that their shirt sucked and they should buy one that like actually put time and effort into it, and he blocked me.
He's such a crumb bum.
He is a crumb bum. Oh, whatever. He's fine. I don't care. I don't really think about him.
Dude, Tyler Van Dyke's a good quarterback at Miami, by the way. That kid's pretty good. I think if like we talk a lot about Cristobal, we haven't really gotten any of their players. Tyler Van Dyke's a legit quarterback.
Anthony Richardson is a guy that kind of just sticks out on the page to me at this like higher number. I have no idea if he's going to end up being Cam Newton or end up being benched, but it's like he has that potential to really just change games and have moments where maybe he makes a big run in the Georgia game for a Heisman moment. Like it's one of those that you're probably throwing the ticket in the trash in middle of the season. But I think if you're looking for long shot type of guys, like I would take him before I took the Tennessee quarterback or Kentucky Levis.
Kentucky's quarterback Will Levis is legit.
He is.
He's not going to win the Heisman, but he's
Right.
legit.
I think Anthony Richardson
The
is
banana
more,
guy, the guy that swallows bananas.
Yes.
no, or yeah, and mayo or something. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I see him as one of those guys who could really just burst onto the scene, have a sick year where he throws puts up a bunch of numbers in the air, absolutely runs people over, uses his feet to score touchdowns, and he just puts up sick numbers and could get the Heisman. Also think he could not even sniff all SEC at the end of the year. It's just one of those like boomer busts. Like really, we're buying a lotto ticket with that one.
Which one you talking about? Bijan Robinson?
With Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson, yeah. No, like I said, dude, like the LSU game, that's one of my toss-up games, and it's because of Anthony Richardson as one of those guys.
I literally have nightmares of him just Cam Newtoning us, of like dragging Patrick Peterson into the end zone. And it's like, why? I don't know why. It's just like it's all I think about.
But the difference is like Anthony Richardson will only do that against us.
Right, exactly. And then he'll get benched against Arkansas for sucking. Like I'm telling you, dude, like that is the scene that plays as I'm closing my eyes to go to sleep. It's like, oh my God, the Heisman moment happened against us. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down the list, CJ Stroud, I didn't know he was projected number one. But yeah, like that's kind of the guy. Ohio State's got a phenomenal offense. He's, year 2 or 3, maybe.
It's who could
is
say?
It 3? I don't know. But I mean, regardless, he's somebody that is definitely well versed in this Ryan Day offense. Bryce Young, I just don't see it happening 2 years in a row. Very well could. I just wouldn't put money on that.
You have to be so much better, like that second year that you win the Heisman for like to impress people to vote for you. That it's just like he's not even like on my radar of someone I would want to bet. And does he have potential to win it again? Sure, but it's like if I'm sitting at the ticket window, I'm just like, I'm all set
because he doesn't like he's Bama's quarterback. Yeah. That's it. Like he's not somebody that's just like this generational quarterback coming out that you're like. Doesn't matter what team he plays for, this kid was going to win the Heisman. Like if Bryce Young's playing for other teams, like I don't see it, and that's what it's going to take.
Will
Anderson is definitely somebody that could be that defensive guy that breaks through.
I posted in the notes, don't be shocked if Will Anderson is in New York for
Did you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Don't be surprised to see Will Anderson. Also, Bo Nix 70-1, Mike. I think it's worth a sprinkle. I think
sprinkles there.
I think we put $1,000 on it and see what happens.
The wide receiver from Ohio State, I'm not going to say his name, but he's definitely somebody that could make some noise as well. But if he's making noise, that means CJ Stroud is going to win the Heisman. So Caleb Williams.
It's like Jamar Chase was never winning the Heisman or over Burrow. It's like he was awesome. He was sick. What's Justin Jefferson, All-American, whatever, incredible. They were never winning the Heisman over Joe Burrow.
I agree. Caleb Williams, I think, is going to be a stud at USC, but they're not going to be like to be the Heisman. You have to be in a championship team, and I don't see USC.
Yeah, I know it's like the same system, same coach. Like it just, I would be pretty surprised. Like I think Caleb Williams, I think you got some shit from some friends about saying Caleb Williams would win a Heisman in his career. I think it's still possible. I just am not really feeling it this year.
Well, now that he left to go to USC, that kind of changes things because I mean, like the Heisman at Oklahoma was just like graduating. It's
already
like
backing out, huh?
No, it's just when he was at Oklahoma, it's like, well, yeah, I win the Heisman. Like who doesn't at Oklahoma?
Yeah, but imagine Joe Tessitore on the big screen going over the West Coast votes of how 99.6% of them voted for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I think your best shot, CJ Stroud. Will Anderson would probably be up there as my number 2, and then Bijan is interesting at Texas, but I don't.
And Travion Henderson, always.
Travion Henderson's good. Tyler Van Dyke, but again, just like USC, it's like you got to be a contending team, I believe. If Oklahoma has a good year, it will be because Dylan Gabriel goes off. So like he's definitely a dark horse there. I think that's kind of your guys.
Yeah, I don't know who else I can even throw out there.
Who's your dark horse on that right side on 11 through 20?
Well, Brett went with Anthony Richardson.
If you made me
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, if you gave me $100 to bet on the right side, I would bet $33 and give you $1 as a tip on Richardson, Gibbs, and DJ Uiagalelei. Those are the three out there I see value in.
Clemson, okay, so DJ I do think improves. I don't know if he improves enough for me to believe he could be a Heisman contender.
I agree. But if 2 years ago you told me like, hey, this is the #1 quarterback in the country coming out, going to Clemson, will be the starter, the ACC still sucks, you can have 50-1 odds he wins the Heisman, I will take it.
Yeah. Hooker's pretty good, but I don't see him as a Heisman. I think Will Levis.
Hookers are very good. Hookers.
Yeah, if I had to go with one guy, I'd go Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs just seems like
Hooker comes to Baton Rouge.
Could be worth it. Tyler Van Redacted, I do like that. Yeah, Rattler, I'm not high.
Yeah, because we can't say Dyke or Dix or anything like that in this podcast.
We'll get kicked off of YouTube real quick.
Except for the first 20 minutes.
We've been bad boys on the podcast only feed. We got to change our game.
You're right.
No, Rattler, like I couldn't be lower. I couldn't have less expectations for Spencer Rattler. Like I know everyone's getting hyped around the South Carolina bandwagon. I just look at that and see these dudes are going to lose 3 games in a month and he's going to be done. Like just shit. Absolutely.
Are we just like, you know what's crazy? Go back to that, Grant.
Yeah, go back, Grant. Come on. What are you doing?
Are we just completely bypassing Quinn Ewers at plus 3,500 right there? I know you can't do it. We haven't seen him play, but Texas is primed with this whole hype about being back, and they've got all these transfers coming in. They get Quinn Ewers back to Texas. He was like this all-world quarterback coming out of high school, skipped his senior year, the highest-rated quarterback ever in the history of recruiting rankings, and we haven't seen him play yet. It's like,
I mean, yeah, could he be Manziel and just burst onto the scene and just be absolutely diamond and be the cool guy? No. Yeah. I mean, it feels like okay. All right. Grant said no. Let's move on.
I'm trying to look at this list on that first page, 1 through 10, and be like, who is definitely not even going to sniff New York?
It's hard for me to think a running back's going to win. And I know people really like Robinson, and I know we talked about Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, but it's Contraford. Sorry. It feels like it's a quarterback wide receiver game these days. I feel like Will Anderson. I'm more confident. I would be more confident putting money on Will Anderson than either of the running backs.
Contravian Henderson. Yeah, no, I agree. It'd be tough to see him, especially like you said, if Ohio State has a good year. It's like that means CJ Stroud's going to be there.
Yeah, because like
one of those 3.
Yeah, I mean, but Stroud is like, he's not just like a Bryce Young. Like he's a legit. Like he runs that offense. It's not like Mechie. It's just like.
So that's like easy money. That's like me betting, following your golf picks. Then
I miss those days.
Yeah, those are the good times.
Dude, how about your boy?
I haven't watched golf lately.
Tony Finau?
Well, him.
And then isn't there a North Carolina cat that's turning on?
The dude shot a 61 on Sunday to win.
Once
the
British Open presented by British people is done, I just kind of check
over.
Out.
Cam Smith is my final winner this season.
Watching dudes play for money doesn't really get me going. Watching dudes like actually play because they want to win the tournament gets me going.
You talking about Henrik Stenson?
No. If Henrik Stenson's your guy, we're ending the streak now.
No, it was something Kim or somebody, 22-year-old.
The guy not Kim. Yes. Yeah. It wasn't Kim, but yeah, it was something along those lines.
Yes.
It's something along. It was like Jim.
Or
Yim.
I think it was Yim.
Sung J M.
Sim. No, I think it was
Sim. It's something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not lying.
Hey, dude, 61.
Good for him. I'm glad we.
It's an easy course.
Wait, before we finish up on golf talk,
you started golf talk. guys, hold on.
We're almost at 2 hours. We're not doing golf talk.
Wait, who's your dark horse non-power 5 group of 5? Anybody?
I mean, dude, I haven't looked that much in. The easy answer is just to say Cincinnati and feel good.
No, I think Eastern Carolina is that who has the really good quarterback. Somebody out here in Carolina has a stud quarterback that I could see making some noise for their team. I think it's ECU's quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. ECU's been good the last couple of years. They got the coach who looks like he's acting as a high school coach, but apparently they're really good.
I think Boise might be pretty good this year too. I've been reading some stuff about them.
I would like Boise to get back. You know, it was kind of fun to have Boise in the mix and everyone be able to shit on and be like, they ain't play nobody, Paul.
Did you see the shit about SMU offering their cats like $40K a year to just attend school?
Good for them.
Wow.
Yeah, like everybody on the team just makes $40K right out of the gate. So SMU or Dallas, as their jerseys like to be known.
Yeah, it's like being the mailman at like a accounting firm or something. You know, like you get $40K a year, you're gonna get benefits, you get 2 weeks paid vacation.
Yeah, I'll go to SMU.
6 days, like fuck yeah, SMU sounds kind of cool.
Good, I'm comfortable.
It's like it's BYU. You get there, there's like contracts that like you can't have sex and stuff. You're like, whoa, for only $40K.
$40K. We're gonna go Chipotle.
Yeah, like what is this shit?
All right, guys.
Yeah, I got nothing else. I had fun hanging out with the boys.
Yeah, fun pod. I don't know what else we're going to talk about for the next 4 weeks other than preseason Florida State game, like the pregame pod. I'm sure we're going to talk like week 1, what's our favorites and betting lines.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm ready to get a little betting action.
Well, we have a week 0 coming up soon.
Yeah, we get to watch Florida State.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Is Mike are they playing DeQuincy?
Duquesne, I think is how you say it. Duquesne. St. Thomas Aquinas, but only with D's. Duquesne. Marshall,
Mike
an interesting dark horse. You say, yeah, we're done with college football talk.
Is Grant, Mike Senior ready to keep
is
betting?
My what?
Mike.
Oh, yes. We put in the spread for the LSU game and the money line. So I squared those away before.
You sounded like Trump when you just said we put in the spread for the money line.
No one's ever seen a spread. So delicious.
We put in the spread.
I told no one's liked underdogs like me.
I got it in early before it moved, and then I'm definitely going to double down on my winnings. Based on what happened Saturday, I'm going to throw it in on Sunday. And
nobody's ever betted from Raleigh. No one's ever betted from Raleigh, North Carolina before.
Barstool app reached out. They said, please stop. You're killing us. You're crushing us.
I found the loophole.
We're going to start promoting you. And I said, no.
I found the loophole.
Just end it. Just stop.
Over and out.
No, we don't. Oh, God. 5
What are we doing here? We're still live. Why is it on me?
Keep going.
What are we doing here? I found the loophole.
Wait, no, it's this one. Wait, it's this one.
Okay.